the Hertfordshire town of Watford. Watford has stood in the shadow of the capital city for 1,000 years. But at least the town's music fans don't need to traipse into the big smoke for some entertainment. Because since 1938, the Watford Coliseum has hosted gigs by everyone from Luciano Pavarotti to this cheeky chappie, Robbie Williams. Now, when I tell you the guide price of the lot I'm here to see was £10,000 plus, you might guess it's not one of these terraced houses. Oh no, the lot I am here to see, well, ta-da! It's these two garages and the little bit of land to the side. Now, it might not seem the most exciting prospects at face value, but the auction catalogue did say it may have development potential, so it's definitely worth further investigation. Come on, let's do it. So what you have here is a small piece of land. It's strewn with debris just now, but it looks to go back around 5 metres by, say, 3 metres. So you need to clear that out. And then you've got your two garages. So I'm not spoilt for options in terms of what doors I can open for you, but let's go for this one. Ta-da! So you have a garage. It looks to be dry, it's got power, you've got electricity, the door works. Other than that, what can I tell you? If you're looking for a property with period features, you know, a ceiling rose, cornicing, this probably isn't the one for you. But what it lacks in that charm, it makes up for in functionality, because you could definitely get your car in there. Can you tell I'm already struggling a bit with this? But come on, it's a pair of garages. There's not much to say. I suppose the question is, what could you do with them? Well, you could keep them as garages, rent them out for somebody to put their car in. Or you could think about making it a commercial premise, say a wee hairdresser's just off that high street. Or you could think about making it a residential property, maybe a bungalow, and that's where the money could lie. But before we get too carried away here, let me give you a wee bit of site history. In 2004, planning permission was rejected to build a 2-bed house here. 4 years later, in 2008, planning permission to build a 1-bed house was rejected too. So let's go back to that auction catalogue, the description of there may be development potential, the clues in the may, because there also may not be. And when it comes to putting a house here, you might just have to park that plan. But on the plus side, you've still got 2 garages. Time to get the thoughts of a local property expert. What does he think the chances of these garages ending up as something other than garages?
Converting the garages into residential accommodation is going to be a challenge. There's not a lot of space to work with. There's very limited outside space. I would expect the local authority is going to want to see either some parking or some garden space. There may be some development potential. There might be an opportunity to knock the garages into one unit and create a workshop, possibly a small office or a studio. The little bit of land on the side may assist a planning application.
And if all else fails, would there be a demand for garages in this area?
There's loads of demand. Parking's at an absolute premium. A lot of the streets are controlled zones because of the proximity to the station. So I don't think there'd be any problem in renting both the garages out very quickly.
But would it be a good investment? How much would the garages rent for?
I think that the garages probably have a rental value in the region of £100 per calendar month per garage.
That's £2,400 per annum. Not a bad return if you got them for the guide price of £10,000. And if you hit the planning jackpot, what could our residential development be worth?
If they manage to get residential use, if they got a 1-bedroom unit on the site, that's going to have a value in the region of £210,000 to £220,000.
Converting these 2 garages into something more profitable may prove challenging. Then again, at that £10,000 plus guide price, it could be worth a punt. Let's find out who's willing to drive this project to success when it went under the hammer. Unfortunately, our cameras weren't rolling at this particular auction, so we were unable to show you the bidding action. But it was Nazir who bought the garages for £57,000. His son Deen came along to tell me what the plans are for this auction purchase. Deen, hello.
Hello.
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me a bit about you.
So I'm 17 and I'm still in school.
You're 17 and still in school?
Yeah.
And you own property?
Well, it's a partnership with my father, and it's actually property runs in my family. So it all started with my granddad in the 1960s. He moved from Wakefield to Watford, and he bought his first property in Watford in 1962. But about 20 years later, my father and my uncle joined him, and they started to accumulate property in the Watford area, buying, renovating and renting. And now today we have about 200 properties in the portfolio.
Wowzers. So this is a real family business, and you coming on with this, is this your dad saying to you, look, I want you to have a project yourself?
Yeah, I'm always keen to learn, and I'm always begging him to sort of help me and put me on the property ladder with him. And he's passed on this project to me, sort of oversee and make sure it goes well.
You're at school, is it exam year?
Yeah, it's exam year. I've got my A-levels next month, so I'm sort of juggling everything at the moment. And so I'll be coming here when I'm not revising, but I'm studying hard at the moment for my exams.
What A-levels are you doing?
I'm doing maths, politics and economics.
Wow, that's a heavy load in anyone's book. But as well as those academic studies, Deen also packs a punch in his spare time with a hobby which will prepare him well for the battles ahead. He's been an amateur boxer since he was 10. And at a pretty competitive level too, being the county champion a whopping 7 times. Let's talk about the garages. So did you go to auction or was it your dad?
Yeah, it was actually half term. My dad called me up. He said, I can't make it. Do you want to go? And 3 hours later, he gave me his checkbook and I was in central London at the auction.
Fantastic. So you were in central London by yourself?
Yeah, I was by myself.
With the responsibility of putting that oar up and putting your hand up, saying, was that terrifying?
It was quite nerve-wracking, but after a while I got used to it. And I called my dad up before I got into the bidding, so he gave me a helping hand.
And you wanted these garages, you went specifically to get this?
Yeah, because we own the shop and another workshop which neighbour these garages, so we thought it was a perfect property for us to buy.
Oh, I see. So you own the shops that I can kind of see in the distance?
Yeah.
So what's the plan for this?
Our initial plans are going to go for an extension and a conversion to commercial use for the garages. We're going to hopefully turn them into workshops, and we're going to raise the roof and put offices upstairs. Then, in the long term, we're going to aim to apply for residential planning to create a one-bedroom dwelling.
Deen and his dad Nazir certainly have work to do here, mainly convincing the local planning department to approve planning permission that has already been denied twice. But Nazir thinks change of use from storage to commercial should be straightforward. And once the roof has been raised, it may make residential planning approval more likely further down the line. What's the budget?
The budget for the commercial extension is £20,000. If we achieve planning for residential, there'll be another £40,000, so £20,000 to £60,000. The costs are pretty low because we've got an in-house team which cover everything, so they'll cover all the manual costs.
Have you looked into getting your services in, your water, electric?
The team has looked into it, the manual labour team, and they've been planning it for the last 2 months since we bought it at auction, so that should all be covered.
How long do you hope to do this in? What's your timescale?
If the residential planning is accepted, 6 to 8 months. If we stay with workshops, then 3 to 4 months.
You obviously want to be involved in the family property business. Any other plans for yourself?
Yeah, I hope to go to university and study law in the coming years. And the long-term plan, become a property lawyer and join the in-house legal team we have.
The future is clearly very bright for you. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, Deen. At just 17 years of age, Deen's already embarking on his new property developing career. He's certainly a very ambitious young man, but he's got a lot on his plate, those A-level exams which are looming, and not to mention the small task of getting planning permission here. Will he do it? How will he get on? You can find out later in the show. Coming up, in Rochdale, we come across a house living in the past.
It hasn't been touched or decorated.
2 garages and the little bit of land to the side. Well, not on the face of it then, a particularly inspiring lot. And what you saw is what you got. No hidden extras, no planning permission, and despite the auction catalogue saying there was development potential, its history suggested otherwise. In 2004, planning permission was rejected to build a 2-bed house here. 4 years later, in 2008, planning permission to build a 1-bed house was rejected too. So let's go back to that auction catalogue, the description of there may be development potential, the clues in the may, because there also may not. So unless you were after twin garages and a little bit of scrub land on the side, then buying this was going to be something of a punt. But local property developer Nasir thought it might be the perfect starter project for his son Deen to have a go at. So he sent him along to auction, and Deen managed to snap it up for £57,000. And Deen was convinced he could drive this project forward. So what's the plan for this?
Our initial plans are going to go for an extension and a conversion to commercial use for the garages. We're going to hopefully turn them into workshops, and we're going to raise the roof and put offices upstairs. Then in the long term, we're going to aim to apply for residential planning to create a 1-bedroom dwelling.
So with this 2-step approach, Deen was hopeful that the garages and land could reap some financial reward.
We can make it happen, make it happen.
And that stage 1, commercial, had a £20,000 budget and a 3 to 4 month timescale. Then to get to stage 2, residential, Deen had a further £40,000 to spend and hoped he might reach that point 8 months later. But now it's 3 years since we last parked up at the land and garages. So did Deen do it? Well, let's chat to him to find out.
First of all, what we did was I spoke to my granddad and he said the best route is to go for a commercial change of use. Lo and behold, that was accepted on first try. Now, once we converted and did the work to a furniture workshop, we rented out the property for a year whilst we plotted our next move.
Their next move was to try and turn it from commercial use to residential use.
However, when the plans went to the planning board, they were quite reluctant to accept our plans. We were rejected.
But as far as Deen was concerned, that wasn't the end of it.
I won't give up, I can't give up, I won't give up, I won't back down.
However, I spoke to my grandfather again and he reminded me that you have to be persistent in this game, and as cliche as it sounds, not to give up.
Yes, his grandfather's right. Sometimes you just have to keep going.
I won't give up, I can't give up, I won't give up, I won't back down.
We went back to the drawing board, spoke to the architect, and we decided on proposing for dormer windows to be installed on our 5th application. And this was put in, and we were finally accepted.
Woohoo! Indeed, it's been quite the journey, and Deen's persistence has paid off. So what have we got in this 2-bed townhouse?
So the layout of the property is, as you walk through the front door, you come into our open plan living room.
Well, it's much bigger inside than I was expecting.
You have storage on your left and the kitchen on your right.
And this integrated modern kitchen is ready to go.
Which then leads you up the stairs. It's quite a simple layout. There's 2 bedrooms, which is partitioned by a bathroom in the middle.
The 2 bedrooms are identical and are both large doubles. With that crisp bathroom in between. And then, of course, you get a garage with access to a small side yard. But with Deen now in his final year of a law degree, how involved was he with the actual construction work?
We have in-house builders and they managed everything from A to Z. So for me, it was more of a case of overseeing everything, making sure it was on track and we were hitting deadlines to make sure we'd finish in time. So it was quite a non-executive role, but oversight was key to make sure we came out on top.
Yes, of course. It's not just about the success of getting this house built in the first place. Success as a property developer is based on the numbers.
So our original budget was 60,000 and we'd envisioned that to spread over the cost of 2 conversions. In the end, we came in just over at £61,000.
A £61,000 spend is pretty impressive. And with the original garage and land bought for £57,000 at auction, this 2-bedroom house has cost a grand total of £118,000. I wonder what the agent who saw this lot 3 years ago makes of it now.
It's unbelievable. When I was here last time, it was an empty double garage, 3 walls and a garage door, and now it's a 2-bedroom detached house, and it's a beautiful property.
It certainly is that. Deen's dad Nazir originally bought the lot not only as a first project for Deen, but also as a rental vehicle. But it would still be interesting to know what the £118,000 investment would be worth in the current resale market.
I think the property would sell in the market today somewhere around £350,000 to £360,000.
That's a huge uplift and represents a potential pre-tax profit of £232,000 to £242,000. It seems that battling through 5 planning applications was worth it after all. What about the all-important rental value?
I think the property would rent for something in the region of £1,200 to £1,300 per calendar month.
So 1,200 to 1,300 is a bang-on valuation. Our lettings manager agreed and has found a tenant at £1,250.
£1,250 per calendar month would represent a whopping yield above 12%. So, should Deen follow in his father's footsteps, it looks as if the company would be in safe hands. But what has been the family reaction to his first property venture?
The family are very proud, you know, being the first one under my belt. My dad was about the same age when he completed his first property, and my granddad was about the same age as well. So it's sort of a family lineage, practically in my blood at this point. So I think property will be me till I die.
Back now to Rochdale and a 3-bed